Welcome everyone to November's episode of Unlimited, where we interview people who change the way we think about the world. I'm really excited because tonight we're going to be talking about dreams with Lisa Gale. She is someone that has traveled literally. I'm really excited because tonight we're going to be talking about dreams with Lisa. She has literally traveled the world to learn about this thing that we do for years and years and years of our lives. So if we were to add up the amount of time we spend in our bed dreaming, it would be a lot of hours. So it's really great to bridge time also with understanding what Indigenous leaders from around the world have been trying to pass down to us and the practices they use to do that. I first got to know Lisa at our Contact 250 event. And Lisa, everything out of your mouth was something that was so eloquent and in flow. It was almost like you were just channeling yourself and all this incredible wisdom. And I was just thinking how world-class you are. So it's really amazing to have you here tonight. I'm so grateful that you're going to share your wisdom.
Thanks, Inka. It was so special and meaningful. I could reflect on that, for a while, and Altair and I certainly did. That was a truly meaningful experience, and I'm so appreciative, as I'm sure many others are, that you've just created this platform and given this space for so many unlimited, remarkable things to come forth. So I'm really grateful to be here. This is work that I was certainly called to do, I think by Indigenous ancestors, as well as our star friends and family. And so I just really appreciate you helping bring voice to this, what I think is really important work for our times.
For sure, yeah. That's right. So if you identify as a starseed, or if you identify as a light worker, or if you identify yourself as an evolutionary leader, or if you just are curious, then you've come to the right place. And I want to thank our partners, Portal to Ascension, New Realities, for broadcasting our message, also Can TV. So welcome to everyone in those networks. And let's dive in. A lot of people right now are in Las Vegas at the big Stairway to the Stars event. So a big shout out to everybody who's there. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. But if you're watching on one of the networks and you want to come in to ask Lisa some questions, you can go to lightnet.org/unlimited, and that will get you free into the Zoom room. So Lisa, talk about what was the thing, the hook, the thing that made you go, I am interested in dreaming, and this is captivating my life and my attention and my curiosity. What was that? What were those moments where you said, wow, I want to dedicate my life to making dream circles around the world happen?
Okay, well, that's a great question. So I've probably been a student of my dreams for a little over 20 years, I'd say. And I was a young mom, and I remember having to get up very early in the morning, 4:30, which to me is just an ungodly hour at this stage of my life. But I had to beat my kids out of bed just to get some time with myself, because so much information was coming through in my dreams, and I really didn't know what to do with it. So I remember just journaling, writing things down. I found many of them to be prophetic dreams. And then I think I was also very much into analyzing my dreams, trying to interpret some sense of meaning from them, and developed my own dream vocabulary. There just wasn't much available back then online, which was, both a blessing as well as made it more challenging, because I had to notice recurring dream themes that would come through. And sometimes the themes had a different essence to them. So really, I feel like here 20, plus years later, I feel like I'm barely scratching the surface. And so maybe 10 years ago, 12, something like that, started learning about Indigenous dream practices and thought, wow, okay, I'm really onto something here. And as you mentioned in the opening, we spend, I don't know, I've heard different statistics, maybe a third of our life asleep. But the reality is the body sleeps, but the soul does not sleep, the mind does not sleep. And so what happens when the body goes offline, when the body gets its rest? There's still work that's being done. There's still communication that's happening. And sometimes that communication is even more profound. Deep messages from the subconscious that are coming through, also from the collective that are coming through. So I'd say, at this stage, I think I practice a little more resistance to trying to analyze and interpret my dreams, and really just being with the content of them. And sometimes take them into journey work, shamanic journey work, to get more information and to make more connections, especially if something's really stuck with me. Um, so what has happened is just my understanding of what dreams actually are is truly expanded. Discovering what lucid dream work is all about, where you practice these states of waking, sleeping, and lucidity, and you can actually change what's happening in your dream, and you can have this relationship and ongoing sort of script change as you go in your dream. That is a really profound Eastern kind of practice that we borrow. And then certainly shamanic dream work. That's probably what I'm most familiar with at this stage and comfortable with. Going into the journey, what we call the other world. But is it really another world? Is it going into the true reality? Is it going into the place where we affect what's happening in this reality? So what's happened for me over the years is this blurring line of what reality is. Are we waking? Are we awake right now? Or are we in the dream right now? When we go to sleep and we tap back into that collective consciousness and really deeply into the soul space, are we not more awake, perhaps, at those times? So, so just to kind of talk about what brought us here to doing this dream work, it came through shamanic dream work as well as sleep dreams, and meeting some indigenous people from a tribe called the Achuar that I knew nothing about at the time. And there were some of our star friends, our star family that were there as well. There was a sense that they were working together. And they asked me to dream, to reawaken the dream and to do this dream work. And through a series of dreams, Altair and I were both having these dreams. We were meeting these elders in the dream state. And then we were meeting representatives for the tribe in the waking state, in this way, in this dream form, this Zoom, platform that we have. And it just was impressed more deeply how important it is to do this active imagination kind of dream work, that with all that is happening in the world today, we are not subject to it so much as we are interacting with, we are in relationship with all that is happening. And so for me, feel that there's a responsibility to do this dream work, to bring forth the dreams of humanity that have perhaps always been there, and certainly from someplace, perhaps it's our own souls, perhaps it's our star friends, our spirit guides and helpers that have been seeding these dreams in our hearts, in the hearts of our ancestors for a very long time. And so many of the early indigenous recording information that we have talk about these dream practices, where these entire cultures of people would wake up and share their dreams with each other. And the really cool phenomenon that they would notice is sometimes they'd be dreaming for one another. And if you've ever had a dream buddy that you have a practice of sharing your dreams with, you'll know that you might have this dream and you just happen to tell your friend about it, and they will interpret some type of meaning from it for their own personal lives. And there is a dream mirroring practice that kind of dates back through Mesopotamia and earlier cultures, where you're sharing dreams with each other in a mirrored fashion. You're not analyzing them, you're listening to one another share a dream, and then noticing the imagery as you kind of join in that dream with them. There's imagery that comes up for you as well. And then you mirror that, you reflect that back to the person who's had their dream, and it takes on a whole new dimension.
Wow.
So that's a lot of meandering. I'll pause and let you get a word in there, ask questions.
Oh my gosh, I have so many questions like flooding through my brain. I'm just like, oh my gosh. One of the things though, yeah, so let me just start with this question, because I got this image that we were all just like floating in the ocean and that we were just going to take on the dream that was happening without becoming lucid. Because, there's all this, we're at this weird like point right now where some people think the world's going to end and collapse and go wrong and people are going to die. Like, and it's like, well, wait a minute. Like, is that just the inertia that we're in? Like, what if someone stands up and go, let's go to the top of the mountain, or like, it's just like, let's go somewhere else. Like, and then we all go, oh, that could be cool. Like, so my first question to you is that, and a lot of people, when we think about, lucid dreaming, we're just like, oh yeah, I want to fly, or, but what do you do when you're lucid? Like, does Lisa do in her lucid dream?
That's a great question. So, well, I've been called to grow up and mature a lot through dream work. And I guess what I mean by that is, okay, I mean, we all just love going into these altered state experiences, right? I mean, that's why psychedelics are so popular. That's why breath work has become so popular, because we expand into that unlimited place of the mind or the psyche or the soul or wherever it is that we go, right? And we feel so expanded. Now, we also have this function of the brain that that is really kind of prone to addiction. And so we get this high, we get these hormones and this serotonin and especially this dopamine going through our brains, right? And so it encourages us to go back into that lucid dream, go back into the journey work, and we can kind of go at it like like it's an addiction, because it feels amazing, and I think there's nothing wrong with that. That's an essential part of spiritual development and coming into these dream practices. And then there's a maturing that comes and a growing up that comes, where information then comes through. Calling is just kind of maybe that's a heavy word, but there's guidance that comes through. And so then there's the ethics, I guess, if you will, and the integrity of, are we going to follow through with the information? Did you just come for a party and to get a hit? Or are you coming for relationship? Are you coming for co-creation and collaboration? And so we'll get tested. So, I mean, I'm certainly not immune to that. I feel like I have been tested. And what will happen is, if it's not taken seriously, if I'm not following through, well, the helping spirits might retreat from me for a while. She's not, if you think about it, when you're in a relationship with someone and they're coming at you with this great intentionality and passion, and they're so excited that they have your attention, and then you're just kind of like willy-nilly, oh, it's great to see you. That was really cool. Fun experience. See ya. See you later, I hope. It's not going to be really conducive to forming an intimate relationship, right? So there's a development that happens there, and I think a maturing. So when you ask like, what do I do? I mean, that's really my intention. Sometimes to have a lucid dream practice, it's not something I even do every night. If I have a really sticky situation, I just want to dream incubate on something, I'll do that for 3 nights in a row, but then I may be a month assimilating what's come through. Same thing with shamanic journey work. It's not like something I could personally do every single day, because there's so much information that comes through, and it really takes some time to be with the messaging, to embody it, to take the action steps and ground it, in the real world, this natural world.
Yeah, or to dream it. So that's really interesting because Daniel, who is our developer at LightNet, he always said that exact same thing. He's super into dreams, like it's his main focus. And he says, you have to act on the dream. You have to act on it. Like that's part of the continuation. Like that's his philosophy too. Well, so what were you asked to act on, and like what types of things should people be looking for? Like what does that feel like?
Okay, so we'll talk about a big one and then maybe just smaller ones, right? If we can make comparisons like that. This was a big one where I knew I was asked to hold these dream circles and to start to plant these seeds of us restoring dream culture. Just envisioning that what if we came together on a regular basis and we did share our dreams with each other and we learned from our dreams with one another. And then we started to hold space for these dreams for humanity, dreams for our family, and we hold this collectively. How much more, I don't know, mentally healthy and spiritually healthy might we be as a people, as opposed to talking about our problems, complaining, looking at the world and our perception of the world the way that we think that it is. It's just an entirely different vein of creativity, to be in. And the reality is, we're dreaming all the time. We're dreaming, we're spell casting with our words, whatever we choose to talk about, right? So why not talk about the dreams, that are coming forth from our hearts? Listen to our children. I see this being in schools, children having dream practices. Kids are amazing dreamers, and they need a lot of help oftentimes dealing with things like night terrors. Often they will tell you, just information will come forth when they share your dream that is actually for you. Uh, so it's little things like that. If you're a parent and you have kids, having a practice where you listen to your kids talk about their dreams. If they have a night terror, working with the content of that. There's methods for working with the content of that to help the child really resolve it. Um, and then, so here's a dream more recently that's kind of been present to me because this is so typical. It's so random. Someone that I know pretty well, she's a colleague. I see her in my dream a few nights ago, and she's scanning vegetables, like she's working in a shop and she's scanning these vegetables and fruits. And I'm standing in line, sort of waiting for my turn with my, bag of produce and groceries. That was incredibly tempting for me to want to analyze that dream. But I'm not doing it. I'm just kind of being with that imagery, and it will come back to us. Sometimes we even forget what we've dreamt about. We'll wake up in the morning, we won't remember what it is, so therefore we can't write it down. But maybe we get up and go and we're driving, we're off for a walk, we're in a conversation, someone says something and it triggers, and all of a sudden the dream comes flooding back up to us. That's a really great moment to pause and take notice. First thing, how is that imagery making you feel? What are the feelings that are coming up with the imagery? And then if you look at the imagery itself, it's going to mean something to you that's entirely different from what it might mean to me or anybody else that you might share the dream with, right? And then for me, typically, because I have so many of these kind of dreams, I'll let it go. And then if there's more information that wants to come forth, I'll find it comes back. That image will just come right back. And so I had that dream 2 nights ago, and two conversations have now happened that have brought me back to the imagery of that dream. And quite frankly, sometimes it's part of our process of waking up to the blurred lines of reality of what happens in our sleep and what happens in this, three-dimensional world, that there's no difference between what's happening in our sleep. Difference isn't quite the right word. It's all connected. There's no separation. So what's happening in the sleep transfers into our everyday reality and then back into the sleep again. So, if anything, I think it helps us to question the way we have held mindsets, strong mindsets about what the nature of reality even is.
Yeah, someone sent me a text the other day. I was like, oh my God, this was yesterday. They said, Zenka, you are the dream. And I was like, did they, I just did a big event with them. I don't know if they meant to say like you're a dream, like, we're grateful to have your help was what I thought they meant. But then it was like, you are the dream. So what if we all are not even physical at all? Maybe we're just like a consciousness, like running through scenarios. I don't even know, but it was just like such an interesting phrase. You guys are the dream. I met a guy who taught dream practices to prisoners in order to help them become free. And he told me, kind of under the table, he's like, look, man, I've met people, star beings on the other side, who are the dream weavers. And I'm wondering if there's all the possibilities, then the dream weavers take those and say, okay, these are some bigger chunks, and we're gonna like put those into the collective consciousness. And then, like you said, some people have said on the other side, after you die, things don't become concrete unless you think about them and concretize them enough. So when you're talking about this distillation, it's like a distillation of options that become more concrete and more concrete. And then really, if we dream about them a lot, then they actually become in this reality too. So, and Dean Radin used to say, like, if I get an equation in a dream, I know that it's correct. So could there be a group of beings, do you think, that are helping distill some of the, like, almost like the Blade Runner girl that was in that bubble where she was like designing things? Like, do you think that there's people that are directing some of the bigger threads that we grab onto?
Well, I wouldn't have to say that because I know that there's Mesopotamian cultures who have whole practices and an idea of dream weavers. There is something called bee shamanism, the Melisai or the Melissa, who hold this idea that there's spinners who spin the strands of the weave. And then there's myth tellers, but particularly, I remember a few years ago working with the spinners. A song came to me about spinning bees, and that's certainly a very strong totem for me. The bumblebee is, and and I just kept working with that song before I would go to sleep at night, and just playing it as you would an intention for your sleep. And so that is certainly what was shown to me. I saw this like a dream weave that sort of wrapped through the aura of the earth, this body, this celestial body. And my sense, Cinca, was that we too can be awakened to that dream weaver, that we are doing it, whether it be strands of light, maybe we're the strands of light and we're being woven. Certainly, there are spirit guides and helpers, I think, that are working with us. I think we often can underestimate really the power and capacity that we have in this human form that is made of the stuff of the earth, and the unique position that we have to affect the reality upon this earth because we have this earth body. At least the more and more I go into relationship with our friends from other galaxies, with other star friends, I continue to have that idea impressed upon me that What a privilege and an honor that it is to be human. I think there's so much more to our capacities than we have yet even awakened to. Maybe that's what we're talking about here right now.
Have you ever had the guts to pretend that you're lucid dreaming in a waking state? Because I got a massive not a parking ticket. I got a massive ticket, one for not having my registration up to date, because I thought they were going to mail it to me. I don't know. Super busy, didn't do it. And then for talking on my phone without like hands-free thing. And I was going to go to the court case today to try to get them to, which they do, they just take it off. And I passed a car and the license plate was magical with it just said magical. It was like a red sunset. I don't even know what state it was from. And then I saw on the way to the court case, and this is only 10 minutes of car, another one that said pink bunny. And then when I got to the court case, I got $600 taken off, and then I still had to pay $275, so it wasn't totally successful. And as I went to my car, there was 6 deer, like, not that far away from me, like 6 deer just standing there, like, and I was like, I got the feeling that they wanted me to rise to the occasion and ask that that ticket be totally dissolved, and that I kind of failed because I did that thing that I was talking about, like the ocean, where I was just like, oh, I'm just going to ride and I'll just see what happens. Like I didn't ask the universe to clear those tickets. But if that magical, car, that license plate, it made me think, like, I could have just been like, well, this is just a dream and I get to decide whether I get a ticket. I'm like, I don't know. Like, it was like asking me to practice my lucidity, and I didn't. I failed. But then it was like I was literally almost nauseous when I saw those deer, because I was like, this is bizarre. Like, this is bizarre. It's like they're right here. This is bizarre. Like, I'm standing in the parking lot. There's 6 deer. Like, have you ever like just tried to take hold of the lucidity, or talk about lucid dreams and what happens when when you've crossed that threshold?
So, I love the way you started that and you said, have you ever had the guts? Have you ever had the guts to do that? I love that. That will stay with me. So, one dream practice when you're learning lucid dreaming is you pinch yourself in the day when you're awake and you tell yourself, this is a dream. This is only a dream. And the idea is that you will eventually do that in your sleep, where you see yourself pinching yourself, saying, this is a dream, this is a dream. For me, that was not ever a very effective lucid dream practice, but it helps me a lot in this reality. If I find myself getting swept away by some kind of crazy stinking thinking or big tsunami of emotion, is to just remember, pinch myself. This is a dream. This is a dream. What if you're just making this up right now? Well, this sucks. So make it up differently. you know? So there's that. And something else that comes up for me when you say, have you had the guts? I noticed when I first started playing with these, we shape our own reality and the power of the unconscious mind and all of that. And that could take us on a whole other side trail. But, the ego was very much involved in that for me. And so with the ego, you get what you want, but you get the exact opposite too, right? I have no idea why that is, other than maybe because we live in polarity. In this dimension, there is polarity. In the 4th dimension, there is polarity, and that's where we go when we create those things. So it was like this constant fish slap, for probably 10 years of trying to learn that. And so for a while, I didn't have the guts to play with that. I think I was kind of traumatized from doing all of that conscious intention manifestation, all of that. I really got caught up in. And so I needed to just kind of nurture and nourish my soul and grow up a little bit and not be so afraid of my ego anymore, but allow myself to dream again. So I really went into a dream recovery, I'd say, and within this last decade, for sure.
You talked about this shamanic dreaming, where I'm assuming you're doing plant medicine or some other like breath work or whatever, right? Is that the same place you go when you dream?
Yes. So, okay, for me, can't take psychedelics, can't drink, can't take anything. No, I'm just too sensitive. So it doesn't take much for me to just slip away. And daydreaming, I'll say this, I think we come in with it naturally as kids. And then maybe culture, including the way that schools, program our kids, we just kind of it atrophies, like a muscle, like our dream muscle just kind of atrophies. And the cool thing is, even if you haven't been in the gym for 10 years, as soon as you go back in and start lifting weights, you're going to start building muscle again. You're not going to be the strongest person in the gym overnight. Okay, well, you're not going to be the most avid dreamer overnight either. It's a practice and it's a discipline, very much like, working out or going to the gym. So, yeah, so shamanic journey work for me anyway. The drum is my preferred method of entry. It mimics that original sound, the heartbeat, of the mother, that wombic sound and that rhythm. So it's pretty easy, but at the same time, I don't even need the drum at this stage. I can just slip away. That dream or the journey that I had with those Achawar indigenous people, I felt them around me for a couple of days, and I would be in a conversation, and I felt like I could just slip right away with them, but I didn't have the time or the capacity to focus and pay attention. So, I had learned at this stage to say, not now, not yet. I will be with you, but not yet. And so when I went into that particular journey, at that stage, the energy was so pent up. It was so strong, incredibly vivid. The imagery that came through, the messaging that came through was just incredibly vivid. But I will say, I know that psychedelics are really popular. I have mixed thoughts, and opinions about them. I think that people need to be very, very careful. They can really open you up. And the great thing about doing this kind of work a little more soberly, maybe that's not the right word, but your soul and your spirit has a way of titrating the experience for you in a very compassionate way, right? When we take these substances, or doing extreme kind of breath work, like extreme breath holds, or like the really popular Wim Hof sitting in ice, we can open ourselves up beyond our psyche's capacity to handle what's coming through, right? And, it's the same thing with the Kundalini experience. People will sometimes not sometimes, I know that that's a really popular thing to do, seek having this Kundalini experience. Wouldn't that be so cool? The intensity of it. And yeah, it is cool, but at the same time, it's going to shake up your entire life, and maybe in ways that you're not prepared for. So, yeah, so I don't know if I kind of meandered there, if we got your question
Yeah, I
answered.
mean, I have the same, I have the same feeling about it. It's like if you guys if you can get there without it, it's so much stronger because it's so much more like it is obtainable in any way. Like it's not really necessary. I think that some people find it very opening and find it very healing, and I think that's great, and I think that's great too. But I tend to think, and I, yeah, I did DMT a couple, like 3 times in a row in one night, and it took me a very long time to like come to terms with all the stuff that I saw. It's like, right. So yeah, I get it. It's like it's like, yeah, the integration. It's almost like moving too fast through too. I was like, wait a minute, let's slow down my evolution. I'm not ready to leave here. Like, I want to do this more slowly. But the question I was asking you is that when you use and drumming, I've heard really is an amazing thing as well. When you do the shamanic dreaming you're talking about, are you in the same space that you are when you're dreaming at night? In other words, you're disconnected from your body, your soul's running around. It's either the real world there, like Avatar, which I kind of think it is, or are you in some different thing? Like, is it different, or is
It feels very much the same for me. So um, at this stage, okay, there were, earlier years in my dream work practices, meaning it's sleep dreams. I was just this, I think, spiritual busybody. I don't know where I went, but I would just wake up exhausted and make no sense of my dream. It'd be like if you just binged on Netflix, but you didn't even watch a whole show. You just went from one to another to another to another. So I kind of learned to discipline my mind and my sleep, I think. So yes, now I would say, whether it be a dream that comes through sleep or that those realities and other dimensions that we tap into when we do the shamanic journey work, it's all the same, right? Um, I mean, that's a whole other, really meaningful conversation to me is just what is it that we're doing? Where is it that we're going? Who are these spirit guides and helpers that we're meeting? They're just as real as we are. We're spirit beings with these earth suits, right? And they're spirit beings in another dimension where earth suits are not required, are not allowed, are not needed. So I think it's a coming together. So in those states, we could split hairs on what you even call them. Stan Groff, I think, came up with the word holotropic, because we go into this place of wholeness where there is no separation, there's no hierarchy, there's such collaboration. Um, Perhaps it was Michael Harner, I'm not exactly sure, that came up with this idea of the other world, and in Celtic shamanism, that's what we call it, to the other world, to the place of our ancestors, to the place of our star helpers and friends, to the place of the Tua De Danann, the tribe of Mother Earth, and that takes us back to our deep, deep history of this idea of beings from the stars that came here and seeded life here on this planet. And then where did they go? Did they go underground? Did they give rise to our form? Our Mother Earth has given rise to these forms that we call our bodies. And there are many, many spirit guides and helpers within the earth. So are we tapping into these deeper dimensions? That's what it feels like for me. I don't feel like I'm leaving my body so much as more like the body is the portal. The body is the way. It's the way through deep, deep in the heart space. So when we opened our dream circle and we opened to the 7 directions, and then we finish off with the heart, at that point, we've called up all of our mythology. We've called up all of our beingness laterally, vertically, and then we're coming to the place of center, into the heart. And I think that's why it's so easy to launch into the dream work from that kind of place. So I would go through that similar ritual whenever I go into dream work. Not necessarily when I go into sleep. My sleep practices are very different, but in Celtic shamanism, as well as other indigenous cultures, there's a belief held that the day begins at dusk. And so we go to sleep to create in our sleep for what will happen when we wake up. And then, the evening comes And that's when the new day starts. And that has always felt really true for me too. I have it pretty, what's the word? I'm trying not to say the word anal, but I guess meticulous. Dream practices at night that start before I even go into sleep, with a bath and calming rituals and releasing tension from my body, really thinking about what my intentions are for my sleep. Sometimes I don't want to dream, I just want a good night's sleep. Um, and then for me, it's usually in those waking hours, in that liminal space where a lot of information and imagery will come through that we might call a dream. Um, Lucidity, for sure. I find that I tend to lucid dream more when I'm problem solving, when I'm really grappling with something. No, let me fix it this way. No, let me fix it that way. You know, and we can do the very same thing with journey work. If we're looking to make a decision, we can do a journey and explore the path of, I don't know, option A, explore the path of option B, and then just kind of be with what's come forth. It's no different than lucid dream work. So
Interesting. I love that. And Scotty's also like responding, and like, to think, you guys, tonight when you go to bed, that it's really the beginning of your day. And then to develop this conversation that you have with your dreamer self and your waking self, and saying like, hey, lucidity is possible in either state. Michelle had a question too, and I want to bring her up, about the pinch tactic, saying, and we, Coffee and I and Adam, practice this all the time with bracelets. We're, if we're experiencing something that we don't want to experience in this reality, waking reality, we go change the bracelet and we put the bracelet on the other hand. And it's an acknowledgement that we're energetically moving down a stream that is not this. We have to get out of the boat, put it on the side, and start again, because our energy is going to just pull us down through these experiences. And if we don't take a moment to reset it, we're just going to keep going down that. And if we can be lucid, then that's our chance to reset the lucidity, because our subconscious mind is still working out the bad dreams. You know what I mean? Like, we're still just like, oh my God, and I'm worried about this, whatever. But it's like noticing that, and then actively, rerouting the boat. I'm going to take a minute to share a few things, and then I'm going to open it up to the audience. So if you guys are watching on Portal to Ascension or New Realities, or even if you're watching the replay, you can go to lightnet.org/unlimited, and you can get back into the Zoom room to ask your questions, to watch the chat. And also, Lisa's going to be back with us on just going to share my screen here. She's going to be back with us. If you go to the LightNet site here, the About and Contact is where you get to this unlimited show sign up, but you can also hit the calendar here. So Saturday, we're going to have spoon bending party for members. So there's a chance for you to practice with us, lucidity, extreme lucidity. And we're also, next Thursday, we're having a no-no day with Stone, because she and I want to practice saying no. So we're going to come up with scenarios in our life. We're going to go into breakout groups, and everyone's going to role play everyone's lives, and we're going to practice saying no, which is the same thing. It's the lucidity saying like, okay, I'm scared to pull the dream into something that's more appropriate. I'm just going to go with the flow, and you never speak up. And that's what you get. You get the boat going down the south path or the north path or whatever it's going, right? So that's going to be super fun. It's a members only thing. Again, for less than $10 a month, you're getting spoon betting, you're getting this. The community connection call is that Saturday, the 18th, where you do breakout groups of 3 for a half an hour. So it's a chance for you guys to meet another Starseed, another light worker, another evolutionary leader, etc. It's super fun. And then we have the member workshop, which is on the 30th with Lisa. And, I really loved when you took us to, through to this idea of the North and the South and the East and the West. So that would be really great to do that. I also want to tell you guys that on November 22nd, we are going to be closing 2 labs that we're doing off-planet remote viewing with Alan Steinfeld. Amazing. This is his 5th time in, and he's going to teach you in this 6-week series how to develop your remote viewing abilities and then also take them off planet. And it's kind of like what you were talking about. And this is one of my big questions for you, Lisa, is what did those indigenous leaders think of you and Altair? And were you exchanging codes, or were you dreaming together? Like, were you in their dream space, or were you guys in each other's, or like, were they just like, wow, foreign entity? Like, it's almost like you were new in their fields, or maybe not, I don't know. But anyway, so that is also, we also have Jesslyn, and we weren't going to run these labs, but these 2 got back from Egypt and were really wanting to share what they knew. And so this is a 6-week thing. Adam and Adham and Coffee have been working on putting this together for you guys. We're going to be raising our rates and everything in next year when we start all the labs back up. So if you've been on the fence about this, now's the time to jump in. You're going to really bond with 8 to 12 other people. Jesslyn is, when I went to mystery school, they did the same thing. They gave us all the techniques so that you could see what you were good at. And so she's doing that. She's doing breath work, meditation, telepathy, remote viewing, spoon bending, light language. Like, you're going to get a smattering of a lot of things so that you're going to know what you're good at. And this is lightnet.org/oraclej, which is Jesslyn, or lightnet.org/Alan. So that's where you find those. Okay, so Michelle, are you still around here? Because I would love to bring you up if you can block your camera. Okay, cool. I think she just did. Stone is here. I'm excited about our workshop. Our members work. Okay, cool. Michelle, I'm going to bring you on down. Thanks for joining us. And thanks. Go ahead and ask your question, or maybe have a new one at this point, but.
Well, no, well, I found your addition to it with the bracelet shift. That was, I think, okay. My question was, when you were talking about pinching yourself, when Zeka had asked you if you do these tactics in waking life, and when you were saying, oh, this dream sucks, let's change it, kind of thing, when you're lucid dreaming. So if you were to apply that tactic in your waking life, and you're desiring to change that situation or whatever's happening, when you've done that, was there an immediate change, or did it happen a couple hours later, or is it I don't know. I guess that's my question. And how much, and I feel like some of it would be like our energy changing about it, like our perspective changing about it, so naturally it would change. So I just was very curious about that.
Yeah, I love that too. I love the bracelet shift thing. And also what I thought when you said that, Zenka, was sometimes it's not really us that's pulling us in that, kind of crummy, low vibe direction. It could be we're low on energy, we need to eat, we just had some sad or mad thing happen and we haven't really processed it yet. And all of a sudden, we have been magnetized to this collective pull, that is just what we call trauma, just this junk mail, right? And it's not really us. We've lost our sovereignty. So I love that action of just, no, I am mindfully going to take this off and shift. I just did that with my bracelet. I like that. I'm probably going to play with this now. So that's very cool. And then to your question, Michelle, okay, so the lucid dream practices in our sleep, right, where we can learn to change what's happening in our sleep. The whole point of that, right, is so that we can learn to change and work with this reality, right? What's happening here in our world. If we don't like what we can see, we can change the energy. And it starts with us changing our energy. And yeah, it starts with simple little powerful things like change the bracelet and come back to sovereignty. And what choice am I making for myself? What choice am I making for my world? So, okay. So I've seen reality respond pretty quickly. And then I've also seen it feel like, just moving through sludge, right? So, and that's a whole other can of worms in conversation, really. Let me see if I can distill it down in the fewest words. This is my perspective, that the more aligned that we are with the vision or the dream, the quicker we will start to see things manifest in our reality. So that series of events that occurred from the time that I had that journey and that call from those indigenous, to me talking to my friend Stephen Altair about it, and he was so lit up about it, he started dreaming as well. I started going into dreams. I was particularly interested in the women of this culture. I had just learned that a woman had been made the vice president of the tribe. And I just got really jazzed about that. So I started intentionally dreaming at night to meet these women, and learn more about the culture. While Altair was having dreams, he was meeting a male shaman, and he got imagery and messages. And then we met someone who was a representative connected to the tribe, and he pretty much validated all these things for us. And he gave us, the story, the personalities that went with what we were seeing in our sleep. So I just think that this dream work is so important for us to wake up to our capacities. It's so important for us as the tribe of humanity to bring in the dreams that are going to keep our species alive and thriving on this planet, quite frankly. And they know it, and they're calling out to anybody who will listen. I mean, that's what I think. Anyone who can pick up this practice that's been so important to them, but I think we're also called to evolve it, to share active imagination, to really think about the world that we want to live in, the world that we want to leave as a legacy for our children and for our grandchildren. And we're creating it right now. And we have so much more power and say about that world, what that world can look like, than the news, than the media, than any of those other, whatever those forces are that are trying to drag us with them, because we're awake. We're awake in this dream. And so, I love all of the lucid dream practices for sleep dream, but the whole point is, it's like, that's great. We can recite the alphabet all day long, but we want to read and interpret meaning from what we're reading. And that's the whole point of learning the alphabet, right? To me, that's kind of what lucid dream work is for us in a Western culture. Historically in Eastern culture, is really about learning how to die. And shamanic journey work is really no different. It's about, this is the same place, these dimensions that we visit in our journey work and our dreams. It's the same way we're going to leave this body. If we're going to the same place. So the lucid dream work would be to practice dying. It's a practice of leaving this body and doing it with as much dignity and grace. And man, that was a great ride. And I affected this reality as much as I possibly could while I had this earth suit. So, yeah. Did that answer your question?
I mean, that was beautiful and it completely resonated. And I just had a moment of a whole bunch of dots connecting for me when you were speaking, with a lot of synchronicity of other random conversations. So so I'm like all tingly because I understand. I read the words of applying the lucid dreaming to our waking time, and how but it connected, all the dots connected when you were speaking about it just then. So thank you very
Oh,
much.
I'm so glad.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You know, that what happens when we die? What do everyone says? It's love, connection. You feel connected. You don't want to leave. You feel like one. You don't have any desires. You just like you are in a very loving space. So if that's where we go when we die, like this, there is this like need to mix these two worlds, like to have a dialogue, like you said, Lisa, as you go to bed, as you wake up, you know, in the nap, in the thing, because that is the thing that's going to help us tie it together. And I think also you're right, Lisa, like I used to study what people thought of the future, and they would talk about all the things they didn't want to happen. And it would be like this total sinkhole. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we have not spent any time thinking about what we want. And so how are we even going to get that? You know, if we can't even imagine what we want, how are we going to get there? Because the nightmare is so easy to fall into. It's just like partially because our media like explains the nightmare a lot. So it's just easy in our mind. It's like, okay, yeah, I can imagine what could go wrong. But I want to say one more thing before we go to the next question, which is, you know, we're talking about switching the bracelet, and when things go bad, like sometimes Adam would just look at me like things would be going very bad. And he would just look at me and he'd be like, look, I trust you with the dream. So to some extent, we get to take responsibility when the train is wrecking, to take that deep breath and to switch the course. You know what I mean? And I think that you talked about symbols earlier, Lisa, and the things that you reoccurred and saw. And one of the major symbols that I have is the black and white checkerboard. And that symbol to me means this is all a canvas. This is all a blank canvas. This is the substrate. Like, what are you dreaming on? Like, what are you projecting? What are you dreaming? And the final thing I want to say is that it goes back to what Lisa was saying about, you know, the dopamine and everything else. Like, we can dream like our fantasy life or something, like all these fantasy scenarios, like flying or other things that may be what we really want, like you said, like the high. But you got to remember, sometimes when things are going really wrong in your life, it actually might be helping you get to the better thing. So being in it, as Susan said, being present, like, you know, there's this old like tale that says, oh, you know, this man's son fell and he broke his leg. And they were like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Your son broke his leg. He's maimed. And he's like, well, good or bad, we don't know. And then all of a sudden, all the boys get called off to the war and his son doesn't have to go. And so it's like, sometimes you think, I broke my leg, this is terrible, when you don't even know what the universe has in store for you. And I think I'm coming back to that again and again, that trusting the universe and God and all that is, and trusting our dreams, where we look at each other, I trust your dream, that trust is what gives way to our greatest triumphs and our greatest coherence and our greatest gifts and our greatest legacies, because that gives you the state of mind and the presence to let your love come out and to be in a learning mode, like you said, like Lisa, where we're not just like wanting to paint everything rainbows. It's like also like, I'm willing to take the rock that's in my way or the mountain that's in my way, and I will climb it. I'm not just going to like walk around again, you know, and just try to avoid it. Like, if you're giving me something, that evolution is a gift to me, you know? So it's very interesting. All the things that we're touching here. What do you have on your mind, Atira?
Thank you. Thank you. Well, this is quite fortunate that this is happening today because of what I have planned for tomorrow. But two things. One is that I regularly change my dreams. If I'm going down a path of terror or a path that I really don't want to go, I'm going, okay, stop the movie, and I switch and I reset the play, and the movie can either go on or I'll just end it, and I'll still be sort of in a semi-lucid state. So I'm very much aware, and control isn't the word I want, but I'm actually managing what I'm dreaming. And you're very right on that it puts me in a learning state. And you're also reminding me I had such a vivid one a couple of weeks ago, and I did not write it down. I wish I had. So, and then the second thing I wanted to say is that, and this really helps me set up tomorrow, because tomorrow a friend and I are sitting together with MDMA. What can I say? We're going to work with a psychedelic to explore exactly explore the lucid dream, to find out what comes up. My intention is to explore my feelings around a problem I'm having with one of my children. But you're encouraging me to just let it flow, let the spirits guide me and teach me in terms of the process. And I don't know if I'm babbling at this moment, but at any rate, I just really appreciate that I'm here in this moment, thinking about tomorrow, and also thinking about the power, the literal power of my dreams. Thank you.
Thank you so much. What are some of the intentions, Lisa, that you do when you start your day at night?
Well, that's interesting. Listen to your itinerary. You have to report back to us how your experience goes with that. It oftentimes is about relationships. I have 3 grown children myself. And so it will typically be a relationship concern that I'll take into sleep. It might be something related to work, but it's all about relationship at the end of the day. So if I'm, oh my gosh, humbling mom moment, right? Struggling to let go of one of my children, who's grown and needs to be released. And so asking for help with that in my sleep, but it was more like, I think my question or intention that my sad little wounded ego and heart took into sleep was something like, how can I best support my son at this time? What does he need from me? And the message was just loud and clear the first night, let go. Stop trying to support, stop trying to help, take care of yourself, nurture yourself. He's got a life to live for himself. But I kept on with that dream intention for 3 nights in a row. And it was just the same message. Very simple. You're not getting a new one. This is the message. So that's what came to mind for me when you're sharing your story, Tara. And, when we talk about being able to affect this reality, we're not going to avoid the spectrum of emotion that is being human. There's only one way that I know of to develop compassion, and it is through suffering and making new choices. Making new choices for how to handle and manage pain so that it doesn't become chronic suffering, and to just go through what's called in shamanism dismemberment, where your entire life kind of gets ripped apart. And not because you were doing something wrong, but because you were pursuing your soul's deeper path. And whatever was not in alignment start to just fly away, sometimes outside of your control. Those are really important times in this dream because we're deepening, we're going deeper into presence, love, compassion, empathy, connection, and it expands our capacity for relationship. which then expands our capacity beyond this, lateral relationship that we have and into these other dimensions with our spirit guides and helpers, and with each other in higher dimensions.
Yeah. I just posted Lisa's Dream Circle website, globaldreamcircles.org, into the chat and also over on the YouTube live streams. Eric, you are next. Can you turn on your camera? And then Stone, I have you next showing up, and then Kel. Okay, great, Eric. Thank you so much. Awesome. Go for it.
This is incredible. Lisa, thank you very much. I want to parrot what Michelle was saying earlier about some of the conversation and how some of these dots are connecting and pinging, and also Zenka about that bracelet comment, switching the bracelet to another wrist. I have found, and I've done a deep dive on this in terms of energy and how energy can affect objects around us depending on our intention or where we are, where we're sitting in our path, so to speak. And it's really, really, it's a miracle in a lot of ways, because I think we underappreciate how much energy in terms of redirecting the flow, if we want to redirect it in a more positive direction, how much, for lack of a better term, the material area around us, how we surround ourselves, and how we set that area up in terms of, like you said, Lisa, earlier, going to bed is like going into your day. How do you set your environment up for the evening to prepare for that? And that's such a fundamental thing that I found, really realizing, lack of a better term, defending your space honorably and with integrity. And it doesn't always work that way, because we are multidimensional beings. And I've made plenty of errors and trips, and I know that there's a lot to learn, and I'm humbled by that. But the Kundalini, when you talk about Kundalini awakening and the how sometimes you're not prepared for that, and you get wake-up calls, and but the energy itself, the energy we transmit to other objects, can be very real. And I think I appreciate that more and more now than ever. And I appreciate all the sharing and the meeting here today. And I just, wanted to just state that and say thank you.
Thank you so much, Eric. It's great to have you. I think you're right, you guys. I mean, our brains are always conserving energy. And so if there's a loose chute that it can go down and a pattern that it can follow, it's just doing that. It's just like the whole analogy of the boat going down the way. So when we retrain our thoughts, feelings, and emotions to accept or grow or surpass the mountain, then that's all we're doing. And by the time you switch the bracelet so many times, you're like, man, I'm switching the bracelet every time that this, you know what I mean? You do learn, like the dog learns the tricks. And so then we get a different result, and yeah, Stone, welcome.
Hello, and thank you, Lisa. This is one of those synchronicity moments. Yesterday I did my half fire gathering, and the subject was dreamscaping. And one of the things that I very much practice shamanistic living, so I go into dream states a lot. It's the switching off from the wakeness and going into the I call them dimensions. Whatever dream state it is, it's a form of dimension. We've got astral projection, that's a dimension. We've got out of body experiences, that's a dimension. So when I go into these dream states, I think about where I want to go and who I want to interact with before I get there. And through the processes, I've learned that the brain and the physical, they can't tell the difference. When you're in sleep state, the brain's still working, it's still producing the chemicals. So depending on the emotional output within your dream, you're still producing those chemicals that you would be if you had that emotional outbreak during the daytime. So when I became aware of my footprint of what I was doing, I was, and we go back to saying no. I took back my power and I says, no, that's not going to be. I'm not going to be running all the time from all these cars and all these other entities that are chasing me. I'm not going to. And one day I stopped and I turned around and I says, no, I'm not doing this. Let's communicate. Let's tell me why you're doing this. And it's, if you want to heal yourself, it's a powerful medicine because you can do it on your terms in your dream state. You can practice learning something in your dream state, and before you realize it, you're doing it in this state. When I did my fasting, it was pretty hard, and it was till after the fact that I realized the spiritual journey that I had actually undertaken. And it was in the sleep state that I got the answers for the work that I'd been doing during the daytime. So when I took out that little equation of, when we slip into the dream state, how we slip in, and everything that we do today matters for us to go into these dimensions. What clothing, fabric you wear, the food you eat, the oxygen that you surround yourself in. There's so many elements to it. And before you realize it, you ring up your friend and you say, hey, look, I'm going to go and jump into this dimension tonight. Do you want to meet up? So dreaming, dimensional dreams and states and different beings that are there, it is part of our reality that they've taken away. They've stopped us from actually investigating, and it improves our lives to be able to be aware of where your dreams are coming from. Why are you in these traumatic stuck states? You don't have to be. These are all, anything that enhances a form of reaction, emotional reaction, you're producing a chemical. But you don't need to do this. Anyway, I could go on and on and on about the journey of traveling and stuff, but I appreciate the work that everybody's doing individually, because at the end of the day, the work that we're all doing comes together as a one. And we start meeting up in these really crazy places, and we can actually identify who it is we're communicating with. So thank you, Lisa, for the work. Thank you, Zinka, and everybody for coming along and sharing. And I'm just going to really jump in fast. I did Alan's remote viewing class, and it was absolutely fantastic. I said earlier on this week, it gave me personal confirmation that I did have an ability. There was something that was happening to me. And I also was able to see a perspective of where I was standing to gauge the location through the remote viewing. So you find out there's so many different avenues to your abilities just by going and doing some of these little courses and stuff. So thank you again, Zinka, and say thanks to Alan for me as well. And I will be happily seeing everybody again next week.
Yeah,
and we can all
so
say
fun.
no.
Yeah, thank you so much, Stone. It's going to be so fun. If you want to join that Stone's No workshop, it's lightnet.org/join. And so, Lisa, I want to ask you, and for Alan, it's lightnet.org/Alan. What's the deal with co-dreaming? Like, have you ever been in there with someone else? Have you ever induced it together? Like, do we share that dimensional space? Like, what is up?
Yeah. Yes, I practiced that years ago. It's been a while since I have, but I think that Altair and I did a version of that where 3 nights in a row we were intentionally connecting with the Achuar, meeting in the women or the garden tenders. But one story that I'll tell very quickly that comes to mind is a very dear friend and I built an astral temple together through our imagination, and got very, very specific, all of the details throughout this entire temple, from what, the hearth looked like and the symbology on it, et cetera, et cetera. And we would set the intention to meet in that dream temple at night when we slept. And it happened. It didn't happen every night, but it happened pretty regularly. We also, in this part of the reality, we would have conversations about that space. And we would, so just like you do your actual home, you know, you're nesting and you're nurturing and you're cleaning and you're organizing and that kind of thing. You give it love, you give it attention. We were doing the same thing in the astral. And this wasn't part of the intentionality, but in reflection and retrospect, I think we were creating a safe place, a safe container to hold that meeting so that we weren't just sort of floating around, you know, in the ethers meeting who and God knows what, right? Because on a certain point along the path, we can meet all kinds of beings out there. So we want to make sure that we're going with protection. And I think the most protection brings me right back to that idea of integrity. What are we doing with the information that comes through our dreams? Can we be trusted with it? When a spirit guide or helper or even our own soul is showing us something, what are we doing with it? Do we have integrity with the dream? And then just to point out, I think Stone alluded to this. Again, the whole purpose is to wake up in this reality, wake up from the sleep, from the stupor, from the collective, you know, wherever the collective is trying to drag us, to wake up to that, you know, with the bracelet technique or whatever else it may be. So
Lisa, can you tell us, I'm just going to share your website here. And also let us know about the event that you guys have coming up. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know if I froze or we got frozen, but we, Altair and I are doing a pre-winter solstice dream circle on, I believe it's December 17th, that Friday. So it'll be 2 hours and we'll open to the 7 directions and then we'll all dream together, kind of in a lucid fashion. And we're doing it in the evening so that, well, at least if you're in this country, you can go into sleep from there. So it can kind of be the way you start your day before you go to bed.
I love that so much. Where do people find that?
Okay, I think I dropped you a link for the event. It's on Eventbrite, but it's also on our website. There should be a page up there on our website with events where you can find it.
Okay, great. Let's see if we can find that. I will, I'm not seeing the link. Did you drop it in text or in the chat?
I put it in email, but if you'd like, I could drop it in.
Oh, no, I can grab it. Hey, Kel, you are next. And we're wrapping up. These are the final 2 questions or comments. So, Kel, welcome.
Thank you. What do you do if you don't remember your dreams? I haven't remembered my dreams in decades, and I've tried everything, and I don't get it. I don't understand the problem is.
Yeah. I'd say we go through decades. That's a long time. We do go through, I'd say, kind of like dream droughts, you know? If it's really, really bothering you, right?
It drives me nuts. I mean, it
Okay.
bothers me really, really bad. Like, I want to lucid dream so bad. Like, I'm taking like 12 different supplements, brain nootropic supplements, alpha GPC and acetylcholine and, you know, galantamine and huperzine A and C6. I mean, everything I can do.
Okay.
I'm trying to do.
Have you tried shamanic journey work?
I don't even know what that is.
Okay. It's a little bit of an easier entry point. And you know what? If you're going to come to the member workshop, we'll do a practice, but really you just start by activating your imagination. So the more you play with, and that's like a muscle too, right? Re-engaging that muscle of imagination, play with it when you're awake. Something really simple, like you're driving down the road and I don't know, maybe you need a good laugh. So I don't know what makes you laugh. So this will probably just be some quirky thing that's going to come out of me right now. I don't know, but I might see somebody walking down the street and, okay, this does happen. And they really piss me off because they're walking along the curb like they want to get hit, you know?
Right.
So maybe I'll just imagine that they stumble into the median and fall flat in the median so that they're not endangering themselves coming into ongoing traffic. But I might get a little chuckle out of that. Like he just tripped over his own 2 feet in his drunken stupor and he passed out right there in the median. He's perfectly safe and he's not torturing drivers anymore. That's just a fun little playful thing. If you want to do it, I'd say start with things that are fun and playful and that don't have a lot of juice behind them for you, because I think the more emotional energy we have around something that we think we want to change, it's like too heavy a weight to start with, right? When you go into the gym, start with something really light. Imagine a color, play the color game where you close your eyes and you just go pink, yellow, orange. That may be very simple and basic, but sometimes we need those practices, and just do it. It's not about how long you practice it, it's about consistency. Do it for a few minutes every day and kind of let go of this. If you can, let go of this, the magic has to happen in my sleep. And then I have to bring the magic back from my sleep, and just remembering the magic is here all the time, just like that car that Zenka saw. So
I don't sleep real well either. I wear a tracker and get all kinds of data every day. And the best I've ever gotten so far is fair sleep. It's not good. Like my REM is short, my deep is short, my light is ridiculously long.
Yeah.
I stress all night long.
I would take
I'm sure I'm dreaming.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'm dreaming. I just for some reason they will not let me keep it.
Okay.
Because I can track my stress all night long. That's, so I'm obviously active. There's something going on.
So one more thing I would give you. Let's just imagine that you did remember your dream, that you wake up and you do remember your dream. Sketch something. Don't even think about, hey, what did I dream about last night? Just sketch something. We would normally keep a dream journal and we would write down a few words of things that we saw, but just sketch. If you, get some markers that you like, or some colored pencils. I really love colored pencils and watercolor pencils because they kind of have that lucid texture.
Little pens and the whole 9 yards. Yeah.
Yeah. So just, start practicing doodling in your waking state, perhaps when you wake up if you have the time for it, but you can also tell yourself, I'm dreamscaping, and do some doodles. I'm dreamscaping, and play with the imagination like that a little bit, and let go of the sleep stuff and just see what comes around to you in a few months.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Awesome, Cal. My camera's not working, so I'm not going to come on. I can't get it to turn on. I think my computer's like too much is going on at the same time. My computer is finally not fast enough for my life. That's hilarious. All right. So, Bill, you get the final word here. Thanks so much, Cal. And, one thing too, is that, you're such an amazing person. So I'm sure there's other things that you're supposed to be accessing right now. If it's just like blocked so hard, like, Lisa was encouraging you, like there's a time and a season for everything. It could be that astral travel, which you get in while you're awake, or even remote viewing could be a fun thing. And then the other thing I'm called to say is that sometimes I do like song of the day, where it's the first song of the day is my message to me. Whatever I hear it, if I hear it in the supermarket or on my car or in my phone or whatever, random. And so there's tons of ways to get messages that aren't dreams that are right there for the asking. So, so there might be some other playful ways to do that. Bill.
Hey, yeah, I've just got one quick question to ask. With you were talking about shamanic drumming. Would that be something that I could do like prior to try to meditate every time before I sleep, but I do have issues remembering my dreams unless I'm woken up suddenly. Then I do remember them. But I just wanted to ask if that might be a technique that I might be able to use, Lisa.
Are you suggesting using it before you go to sleep?
As I'm sleeping, as I meditate, is listening to that as I'm going into my dream state.
Yeah, it certainly helps me. I mean, I do listen to it sometimes going into sleep. I'll often listen to something as I go into my sleep state. Usually sound. Yeah, the sound really helps. So, hey, try it, try it before you go to sleep. Try it also like nap time if you want to take a quick little shamanic nap. That's what I call when sometimes people will go into shamanic journey and they'll say, I didn't see anything, I just kind of slept. Well, take a shamanic nap. So yeah, and there's some great drum tracks too online. We have one on our, we have a at-home retreat playlist on our YouTube channel, which is just Global Dream Circles on YouTube. And it's a great retreat practice. If you wanted to do a self-guided experience, it helps you kind of uncover more of the work that you're here to do in the world. That's the intention behind it. One of those videos is a 30-minute, I believe it's a 30-minute drum track. So you can try working with that. That's a pretty good length of time to do a journey. And, big thing is set an intention, but let go of expectations.
Great. Thank you.
Sure.
So Lisa, I definitely can't get my camera back on, and I'm wondering if you might be able to share your screen and go to Global Dream Circles website and maybe even click over and show people your YouTube, because it's such a powerful thing that you're doing. And you can hit that share screen once you can pull it up on the bottom. And then we'll close, and I hope to see everyone bending reality with me on Saturday with our spoon bending for members on Saturday. Again, it's $8 a month. We're also going to be raising every prices up at the beginning of next year. So if you've been kind of wondering if you should become a member, now will be a great time. And we will love to practice with you. And Lisa's going to pull up the globaldreamcircles.org so that we can see a little bit of the event that she's going to be doing with Altair and invite you guys to check that out.
It's Zinka. I thought it was updated on the website, but I'm going to show you the event and Eventbrite.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Make sure it gets updated.
And let's put that into the chat, and I can put that out as well. So.
Okay, so I got them pulled up. So let me go and share the screen really quickly. Not that. Let's see.
Yeah, I wasn't.
Okay, there we go.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, and during the workshop, we'll also get a chance to do it together. And, in the beginning of the call, Lisa was talking about mirroring. So again, this is also something that Daniel talks a lot about, is talking about your dreams can help you remember it more, because you're basically training your brain to go, oh, they want to share this in the morning at breakfast, so I'm going to try to remember.
That's what's so important, is having a friend, having a dream buddy you can share your dreams with. Our intention is to bring these events 4 times a year. We used to do them monthly, but our schedules just really haven't allowed it. But to build some community around that. We do have a free online community. It'll probably be back online within the next week, so I can send that to you. Awesome. We can have that available to the workshop. But if you can see the screen here, this is the YouTube channel here at in this playlist.
At home retreat. I love that.
Let me pause that. We put this together for our members a while back, and then we just released it to everybody. Let's see here.
Ooh.
That's the playlist, view full playlist. There we go. Okay, this one right here. Here's a journey of the drum. Can you see that?
Yeah, we totally can. That's
Yeah.
that 3-minute track. Awesome.
It starts with the whistle, goes into the drumming, does a callback, which is rapid drumming to kind of bring you back. Don't worry about it if you fall asleep. Yeah, that's totally fine. And then let's see. Let me pause share.
So that's Global Dream Circles on YouTube.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That.
Transition to lucid dream practice. I like that. Yeah, Altair is quite the master as well on lucid dreaming. Wow. In Contact 250 that night, you guys were really pulling us into the other dimensions, as Stone would call them. Love it.
Okay, can you guys see this?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah, he's amazing. That's why it was so fun to share with him when I had that shamanic journey. And he just jumped right into, I haven't met many people like that in my life, where you could just like pick up that dream thread and just jump in and dream right along with me. And then we were in this story and shared reality together with these Indigenous people. Okay, I was wrong on the date. It's December 15th.
Okay, great. If you can
It's
just
right there.
pop this, oh, that's so funny. Cardinal's one of my animal signs. That's hilarious. 3 people mentioned the synchronicities that were happening to them on this call, so that's great. So we're gonna go ahead and share that. I will also put it in the live stream. And awesome, Lisa. Thanks so much for joining us tonight and getting us reawakened to the curiosity of our dreams. And tonight when I go to bed, I'm going to be like, okay, starting my day, I'm going to go transition to my morning. Absolutely hilarious.
You have to tell us how that goes, Inka.
I will.
Thanks to everybody who showed up on this call. And, we were all dreaming here together. We're all creating together. Every story we shared, and unforetold consequences of benefit to all of us, all of our lives, and everyone that we work with will come from this. So thanks for showing up, everyone.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Amazing. See you soon, Lisa. Good night, everyone.
Good night. Sweet dreams.